Yeah, look, it was a really strong win in the end. At half-time, it was, they had some opportunities in the second quarter. They had a fair bit of ball in their front half, and we defended, I thought, pretty well and kept them to 1 goal 4, I think, in that second quarter. And I thought in the second half, from a clearance viewpoint and from a contested ball viewpoint, we were really strong. Given some of the personnel changes that we had, really proud of the guys and the way they came and the way they competed, and to get the result was a good reward for them. I'm mindful you probably predicted it, but what did you make of Eddie Betts' breakout performance from this season's perspective tonight? It was pretty impressive. Yeah, look, he had a great night. And he was, you could sort of tell from early on that he had some real energy and spark about him, and he's been playing some good footy for us without probably touching those heights. And he hit the scoreboard tonight. In previous weeks he hasn't maybe hit the scoreboard to the same level. He's still been playing his role for us and doing what we wanted, but tonight he did some, he finished his work really well, and it was a credit to him.
Last week you talked about football being like losing being like a bug hitting a windscreen. What's it like to be a windscreen?
It was good tonight. Yeah, look, that's the evolution. That's not the evolution. That's the swings and merry-go-rounds of footy, isn't it? I mean, last week we were 40 seconds away from grabbing a win, but you come away with nothing, and that's heartbreaking for the effort that goes into it. Tonight, they got reward for that effort, which is another little step forward for us, which is really good for the group. Really unique opportunity tonight, for a lot of guys in our group. Not only the younger guys coming in, but also some of our guys who we had one leader playing tonight in Tom Lynch. So for the other guys who've we know have been really good players, but have got experience as well, for them to step up and actually lead the group in the absence of Taylor and Matt and Rory was really positive for them as well. And
Sam Gibson was positive tonight.
Yeah. Look, it was we understood bringing Sam in had its components of risk. But you also got a guy that's played 130 games of AFL footy, who's an elite runner, and we knew he was fit, so it wasn't a matter of whether he could go the distance, and we just felt like he could give us something a little bit different when we lost Matt. So, pleasingly, he's pulled up really well and came in and did what we asked of him.
So the plan was originally for him to play Sanford this weekend before Matt went down?
Yeah, that was probably what we were thinking was going to be best for him, having not played since, he didn't play since JLT 3 really. And that's where you sort of talk to your medical guys and you say, well, your high performance guys, and go, what does it look like? And as it turned out, probably with the rain, the game became a bit more of a straight line slog than an open field sort of running game, which in hindsight probably suited him. So a little bit of luck there, but you got to remember, you got a guy he's got 10 pre-season under his belt. So we were always confident that he was going to be able to come in and play, and to do his role tonight was really, really good.
You talk about your leaders stepping up. Bryce Gibbs was outstanding. Obviously, a lot of experience from Carlton. One of his best games that he's had at the club. Yeah, look, it was good for Bryce. I think between Bryce and Cam Ellis-Yeoman and Hugh Greenwood, who continued to grow, those sort of conditions require a physical presence, and I thought they had that from pretty much the start to the finish, and that reflected in their numbers and reflected in their impact on the game.
So obviously, you got 9 first-choice players out. You win by 6 goals, and your record now is a very solid 6-3. How big a win is that for the club tonight in the overall picture of the year?
Yeah, it's an important win, and all wins are. I mean, reality is all wins, you still only get 4 points, but that was an important one for us. As I say, more for the opportunity it created for the guys who were playing, and it wasn't about the guys who weren't playing. We understood coming here tonight that we had guys out of our team that would be in our best 22. But we couldn't worry about that. All we could control is what we brought tonight in terms of our effort and our attitude towards the contest, and that's why I was super proud of them at the end, is that they brought that and they sustained that for 4 quarters, and that really just helps build their belief, both individually but also as a collective, and that's important, because I don't know where the season's going to go. I know winning games of footy in this competition is really hard, against tonight a side that won 3 in a row. We were a bit wounded, but once we had to focus on what we could control, and all we could control was how we went about the game. And to the guys' credit, they did, and so they got a reward, which was fantastic for them.
Dom, what did you make in respect of the approach to the sliding rule interpretation? We saw 3 or 4 examples, one early that got the Bulldogs a goal. Yeah, it's always difficult, especially on those conditions, because it's probably more prevalent on a night like tonight. I'd have to look at them in more detail, to be honest, but there was a couple there which, again, I think the players understand. It's probably the difficult one is when you slide, depending how far you're sliding or how close you are to the ball and relative. But I'd have to look at it in more detail, to be honest.
I know you don't want injuries, but exposing so many players to footy in the first 9 rounds, could that work to your benefit at the end of the year, as long as you get some key players back as well?
Yeah, well, we hope so. I mean, it's as I said, it's the one upside, if you like, of having some injuries is you give opportunities to guys, and we've got some guys guys like Tom Duday who even played in the first round, but he's continuing to play and play well for us, and you see little bits more from Lockie Murphy or from Darcy Fogarty tonight and Jordan Gallucci and Miles and these guys who come in, they just opportunity to play. They're building off a small base of AFL games, but every time they play and they play in wins like that, it just helps them get a clear understanding of what it takes to play at the level, and that can only help us in terms of going forward, because you just don't know when things are going to change and happen, and it's been great for them to get exposure and great for them to play some good footy for us. They're not dominating games, but they're playing their role, they're doing what we ask of them, and they're helping us get a result, which is really important.
Your first game without an injury like this season?
Yeah, the only one we've got probably is the trainer. I think he's gone down. Looks like a hamstring at this stage, but we'll scan it, we'll get back to you.
I think just clarify what the situation will be with Taylor Walker. What's your expectation, and what's he going to do in the next couple of weeks to prove that he's right for you? Yeah,
look, with Taylor, it was a really, we knew coming at the start of the year it was going to be a push for him. And we played him against Richmond early days, and we had a plan in terms of how we were going to basically build him into the season. And as it is with all plans, they all suffer one thing, which is opposition and or circumstances that change. And in his case, we just haven't been able to get the continuity of training and playing to allow him to really build into the season. And so the decision's been made to back him off and get him right. So it's not like he's got an injury that's keeping him out per se. It's more that he just needs some time to actually get his body right so he can play the level he needs to play. And I think that's being fair to him and also fair to the team, to be honest, and that's where we've sort of got to with it. So, the view will be to build him back up, give him a serious block of training so that he can get back to the point whereby when he comes back in, he's ready to play and his body's actually going to be capable of dealing with the week to week. I mean, this is a pretty taxing game that we ask our guys to play, and when you haven't done a lot of pre-season, we might have asked a bit much of Taylor, and unfortunately we weren't able to build him as we wanted, and that's the consequence. So we'll get him right and get him back out there.
So what's a serious block of time though? Is it a couple of weeks, 4 weeks?
Look, at this stage it's hard to really say. We're not thinking long term. We're thinking more in the if you had to pin me to a number, 2 or 3 weeks, to give him enough time. It really depends on how quickly we can build the volume in him. If we can't build volume in him quickly, it'll be 3 or 4 weeks. If we can build that quickly, well, it could be 2 to 3.
What chance do you get Crouch, Brown or Riley Knight back next week?
Yeah, well, look, again, I'm loath in this environment to give predictions because I can get claimed that we're not being open or transparent. But the reality is, all those guys are a chance for next week, and that's probably about as much as I reckon we can say.
Has the soft tissue situation this year, Don, forced you to tweak the way you guys are training, for example, in the last week or so?
No, we haven't changed necessarily the way we're training, and we're mindful of our loads and our volumes, and that's probably in reflecting out of games as to how much we want to do. But certainly the way we train, the style of our training hasn't really been adjusted. There's a few things we've tweaked in our program, which is more based around some learnings we had, and that's the case in every program you're involved in. There's going to be things which get thrown up, and I know talking to some of the other coaches, it's not what we're seeing at the moment that we're experiencing is not a completely unfamiliar to other guys and you're seeing it in other teams. I think the game now is pretty taxing, and that's the real challenge. Is that we're asking these guys to do it week in, week out, and then train and get going, and you're just having these things which the game is demanding more of the players.
And has the club struck the right balance with respect to disclosure around the nature of these injuries, or they're just simply hard to predict and manage? For example, on Wednesday at training, I think you had 3 more injuries.
Well, that was it. I sat in this room, on Wednesday morning, before our training session, and said, "Look, we're really hopeful that these guys are." And I expected 3 or 4 of those guys to play. Now, an hour and a half later, after a training session, they were more unlikely than likely. That's the changing dynamic of what we deal with, and we'll get players which will pull up sore after sessions. We get players who pull up sore after games. So sitting here right now, looks like we don't have any injuries out tonight. I suspect everyone will be right for next week, but I can't guarantee that because I don't know what's going to happen, between now and getting going in training, and then someone else. So it just changes. The landscape changes so quickly, and then we get guys to scan, and we don't know whether it's going to be a game missed or not. So we do our damnedest to really provide as much information as we can, but sometimes it's really hard to provide absolute clarity, to be honest.
Given all the injuries and all the changes to the side this year, you've got a lot out from last year. For you personally, has it been incredibly rewarding that the players have sort of settled down and played that team game, because it has been a big challenge for them to play well as a unit, given all the changes. Is that something that's pleased you more than anything else?
I think I've been pleased with their ability to come in and just play their role and actually contribute in the way that they're needed to. You know, it's not about coming out and being best on ground or kicking heaps of goals. It's just doing the things we want them to do, and that's a credit to our development coaches and our line coaches. You know, spend a lot of time and do a lot of work with these guys to get them ready to play AFL footy. So when they get there, they're really clear on what the expectations are. They're really clear on what role they need to play. They're really clear on the structures and the strategy of how we're going to go about it. And then, with that in mind, they can come and just play. And that's probably been the most important part. Is they're not second guessing. They're playing instinctively, and you're seeing them play is what you want, which is it's exciting to watch. And from a coach's viewpoint, it's really rewarding to see these guys come in and to see them celebrate a win like that tonight it feels good.